To your favorite deck tech location, the Wondercat channel. Today we're going to be discussing my favorite list to come out of the CBO1 EVA collaboration set, Yellow Purple EVA. Yellow didn't get very many cards to look at and to work with. We only had 9 in between the main set and the starter deck, which is pretty nuts. Not as bad as White, of course, only getting the singular card, and you know it wasn't even that great either. I don't even like half of these yellow cards, but the other half we can actually work with them. The reason we play yellow EVA with purple is for a few reasons. So I like experimenting with both these colors. I'm a sucker for unconventional lists. Seeing the yellow purple built into the starter deck also gave me a bit of a drive to try and make it work. The deck has a lot of cards that we can include that have SPR versions, which can make the deck look incredibly pretty. The deck has a great matchup into other purple lists, which, of course, we were making pretty good examples of with versing in several rounds, with CBO1 being very purple heavy. Its ability to puke out an entire board in one turn is pretty consistent. The card draw it has, the filtering ability it has, we can go from 1 or 2 spirits to 5, 6 in a single turn, which is pretty awesome. So, how would I explain the deck? It's definitely a mid-range style. It can be very aggro, but, you know, it doesn't want to win in the first couple of turns. It pops off around mid-game and control the board very easily between purple's removal package and yellow's recursion and its filtering ability. Its worst matchup, like most other decks, it's probably Ira. It's just too consistent for us, and we don't necessarily want to try and aggro out Ira and feed them extra cores too early. So we're going to try and get to that mid-game, and by that time, they pretty much just, you know, control the game. Other than that, we do have small weaknesses into Blue Angels due to its boss monster, 10th Angel Consumed, being able to eat one of our yellow support spirits. That being said, I'd say the matchup's generally in our favor, though. Another really cool thing to mention about this list is how cheap it is to build if you're not running the SPR copies. The deck only has a total of 3 X-Rares, one of them being the EVA 01 Yashima from the starter deck, which is awesome. Speaking of, about a quarter to a third of the deck is made up of the cards from the starter deck, so you will need to buy a couple of those to get the deck up and running. Other than that, it's all rares and lower, which is sweet. I'll be playing this consistently even into set 5, as I think the deck is genuinely fun to play, and my locals has enjoyed playing against it for the most part. It's by no means a stomp of a deck. The deck has put in plenty of work, and even games that I lose are very, very close. True nail biters. But with all that out of the way, let's actually get into the deck list. So we may as well start off with our yellow cards, since that's sort of the special sauce to this list. We've got 3 copies of Activation Test, a playset of Miracle, and a playset of 00 Prototype. So Activation Test is basically our color fixer for the deck. It's fine to play early. It's obviously not great late game, but it's still a solid inclusion. 00 Miracle is probably my favorite turn 1 spirit. Being able to block with it, have it filter for more gas is always fine. Can trade with most early spirits. Having purple-yellow reduction also allows it to be a cheap creature to spit out mid-game too. 00 Prototype can single-handedly win us matchups, especially when having more than one on the board at a given time. Being able to swing with it and destroy a weak spirit for free is really solid. Considering that this also triggers on block as well, also makes it a great defensive card. Being able to combo it with Ray A and Army's level 2 effect to give it good value too. Being able to refresh it during the attack step, awesome. I won't say no to a free Drowsy Fumes on attack and block. This card will basically guarantee us winning matchups into other purple lists and cripples token lists, which is sweet. Our yellow magic and nexuses consist of 4 Ray A and Army, a single copy of Ray Reunited, 1 Warm and Fuzzy, and a single exhaust nexus. The playset of Ray A and Army is basically a second playset of our 00 Miracle. It helps replace itself and filters our hand. It's cheap to play, allows us to play aggressively with our 00 prototypes. The majority of the deck consists of the Nerve subtype, so this card very rarely whiffs. It also discards cards into our grave that become relevant later. which is awesome. The single Ray Reunited was cut down over time from a 4 of. The card, while strong and has a lot of reduction, just isn't super relevant. You only really need one on board for it to do its job, giving whatever we have our Soul Core on Blessed. Warm and Fuzzy has hilarious interactions in our deck and could be played as a 2 of if you really like it. Its ability to have us gain more than 1 life in a given turn can't be ignored. It's so good, especially when we use it during the opponent's turn to throw off their lethal math. Last but not least, a single copy of Exhaust Nexus, probably one of the newer additions to the list. The deck is obviously very heavily purple favored, so we can't abuse this card's reduction as easily. We usually throw it into the burst because Nexuses are becoming a lot more relevant. So it can get out sneaky cheap creatures on occasion. All in all, our yellow cards give us a lot of flexibility in terms of interaction and combat power. Double O Miracle and Ray A and Army helps us with pseudo card draw, and Ray Reunited and Warm and Fuzzy keeps us in the game longer. So let's get into the core of the deck. A lot of it would seem pretty self-explanatory, so I'll try to keep these ones short and sweet. So we have a playset of 01 Miracle, 01 Attack, and a single 01 Dialogue. 01 Miracle combos well with our X-Rares. It can also be free cast with activation test, color fixing red for us. Its attack step trigger is always useful. It's not our win con by any means though. 01 Attack is usually the reason we want to go second if possible. It replaces itself, it sticks a purple reduction on board, and if you follow up with either Ray Reunited or Shinji, you're generating more value off it over multiple turns. This card is surprisingly good. Kind of sleeper over performer, really. The single copy of Dialogue helps our aggro plan a little more, gives us more card draw. We don't play the full playset of the Shinji Nexuses like other EVA lists, but we have a lot of other draw sources, so it isn't as relevant. It's also not a nerve card, so we don't want to fill the deck with too many of these, causing us to whiff more on our Ray and Double O Miracles. We have 2 copies of Mark 7, a single copy of 01 Yashima, and 2 copies of 01 Cassius. The Mark 7s are great aggro cards and can be used defensively or as fodder for our purple removal. You could run this as a 3 of and replace a single copy of Dialogue, but I've been pretty happy with these numbers in testing. More aggro decks, aristocratic lists do run 3 or 4 copies of Mark 7. The 2 copies here I think are fine. A single copy of Yashima exists in the lists as late game insurance, just in case we need to do 1 more damage and we can't get through a bigger board, which actually does happen quite often. It also recycles nerf cards we mill, which is pretty cool too. Not much to say about this card, just overall solid win con. And last but not least, the 2 copies of Cassius are our deck's win con outside of flooding the board and out aggroing the enemy mid game. This card combos so well with things like 01 Miracle, reducing cores to 1 on a spirit, then destroying it with Cassius. The card's ability to swing multiple times per turn as well means getting blessed on it with Ray Reunited or a Warm and Fuzzy at flash speed can generate some really sweet value. Sadly, it's not a nerf card, so it can't be recycled or added to hand with most of our other card effects, and it does suck if we mill it, but you know, we realistically don't want our hand jammed up with copies of this, so we run the 2 just in case. The last spirit in our deck is the old and golden boy, our favorite immortal star, Mr. Beldegor. The deck runs a total of 9 targets for him to be summoned off, and he is milled successfully with every Miracle, Death, or Ayan Army ETB. 2 copies has worked out well, never really needed to loot more than 1 for its consistent value on his ETB. That being said, he may end up being pumped up again to a 3 or 4th copy moving forward, since his when summoned destruction value was greatly hindered by the vast array of AT field prevalent in the game recently. With set 5's release, it shouldn't be as problematic, so we can bump him up if necessary. The rest of our deck consists of a few situational magic cards and our Shinji Nexuses. 2 of the regular Shinji and 2 Shinji Infinite Sync. Both Shinji work well in this list. Infinite Sync is just free reduction, can always be recast or placed for free from the grave if milled by our yellow cards. Starter deck Shinji drawing us a card as long as we have 5 or less cards in hand when an EVA 1 spirit is destroyed. Can generate some great value over multiple turns. The combos particularly well with Ray Reunited's ability to also return that card to hand. Generally, we abuse these interactions by blocking with a 0-1 attack, draw a card, return it to hand, only to cast it next turn to trigger its when summoned effect again to draw another card. Really, really fun. Our removal consists of 2 Deadly Balance, 2 Doubly Deadly, and 1 Shinji's Decision. It has a solid amount of spirit removal and control between the Beldegor, Cassius, and Prototype 0, so it seems fitting the purple removal isn't very large. The nerve subtyping is still very relevant, which stops us from running large amounts of interactive magic. Deadly Balance and Doubly Deadly are both the usual choice for purple removal. Single copy of Shinji's Decision has proven indispensable during multiple games, being able to remove big threats from the board with the help of Cassius and 0-1 Miracle. The last 3 spells consist of a playset of Absolute Ice Shield because, card is good. The deck doesn't want to win on turn 2 to turn 3, so we need to play this. It often gets milled off Ray and Miracle, but, it is what it is. A single copy of Dream Bomb can also psych out an opponent thinking its early placed Ice Shield or can be great removal into big things like Ira that we usually can't kill off without a lot of card comboing. The 2 Star Blessed Draw functions similarly and are just used to benefit off those pesky red and purple decks, generating value on when summoned effects. Anyway, that's about it for the deck. Hopefully I've gone over everything enough that you guys have a good idea on how it should play. It's super fun, super intricate to pilot. I feel like every game I do play with it, the intricacies of these, combos and trying to find out how you can remove cores and manipulate the board just to try and get rid of blockers using things like Prototype, Miracle to remove those cores, Cassius, Shinji's Decision, what to attack with first before using your Deadly Balances or your Doubly Deadlies. Definitely makes it really fun to play game after game after game. A big shout out to Debu, who created the art for the wondercat channel logo. I will link his other art in the description below. Hopefully we can create a bit more so that the channel's a bit more snazzed up and stuff. But thank you very much to Debu. And if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Ta-ta.